That's cool. Aha. Am I live on screen now even?
You are live.
Sweet.
And we are recording.
We can see you.
I know. Whoa, that's like super close up, zoomed in.
Yeah, and if you click on this below, where it says Ryan is presenting, or it might say something else for you, that's where you can pull up your screen and all the assets and stuff like that.
Okay. All right, welcome everybody to our webinar for the day. It's good to be with you. Our Friday weekly calls, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. We've kind of had a little bit of a gap the last couple of weeks. We were out of town and had some technical changes. As you can see, we're doing this on a totally different platform now. It's on Demio versus on Webinar Jam. Webinar Jam was connected to YouTube. And Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this actually connected to YouTube?
Nope, it's not.
Okay. So we are recording these live. So once this is done being live, we can definitely upload and bring some information up. But let's get started. I wanted to talk today, most importantly, about just the changes that are happening in the world of social media. As you can see, Facebook specifically has made some changes in the last 3 days. Instagram has made quite a few significant changes in the last 2 months. Snapchat obviously continues to make positive changes in a way that really keep their audience there. And I want to just open this up. Brad, Mitch, why don't you guys if you can, turn your cameras on and let's just have a dialogue here.
You bet.
Webcam is loading. This is cool. I like this software. So let's talk first and foremost about Snapchat, because Snapchat in general is one of the newest, faster growing platforms. And I know we typically talk a lot about Facebook advertising in general in the context of this platform, but I want to take a step back because I had a meeting with some of our clients yesterday. In the context of that meeting, what I found was that it was the second time we had regurgitated the information, and one of the business owners said to me, "Oh, I finally understand what you mean or what you were saying when you articulated what you're talking about." So a lot of times reviewing just the overall tradition, or the overall take a step back 10,000 level concept of social media, what it is and how it works. Let's start there. So let's go to Snapchat. And I know Brad and Mitch, I don't think either one of you use Snapchat very often, right?
Not a ton. I bounce in and out of that.
No.
So why in the world would someone create a platform like Snapchat? Let's just go to your perception of what Snapchat is and how it works.
I think
one of you, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, the early on, intrigue of the platform was essentially this idea of being able to hide behind whatever you're doing online. Frankly, I mean, you can send something to someone and then it disappears. Like that was the early on thing that made their platform different. And then since then, they've obviously evolved and done a lot of other things. But I think early on that was it.
Yeah, so
I think also that it's become a more fun and a different fun way for people to communicate other than just text messaging. Because text messaging for the longest time, all you could do was just text. That's literally all it was. And so now with Snapchat, then you can do a lot more stuff, add pictures and then text overlay and send little videos. So making it a lot more fun.
Well, that's one thing I was going to say, Mitch. One thing you brought to my mind was that, now it's more or less a different type of a texting platform, but it's a video-based texting platform. And, what better in today's world than connecting with people through video? We talked about that probably 3 or 4 weeks ago on our training, on our weekly training. But what I'd like to talk about in more detail, so Snapchat, that's our perception of Snapchat. You can see, obviously, there's my story. There's a lot of really cool things that are happening in the world of Snapchat. You can send it to your own story. It keeps a running 24-hour sequence. So once you go 25 hours, whatever you posted 24 hours disappears. On your story, you can send messages directly to people and make communications in a group messaging platform. You can there's so many really cool things that you can do with Snapchat. And the funny thing about Snapchat is the only way to really capture and build an audience on Snapchat is by doing live context, right? I mean, obviously it's live because it's all video based, but capturing those moments that most of the time you just kind of bypass. Now, I love that concept because how often do we experience something in our lives and then come back and think, I wish I would have captured that moment, right? I should have had my phone out, or I should have done this or that or the other with it. And Snapchat kind of plays that game of trying to capture as many moments as they can to really drive that home. So the reason I want to start with Snapchat is because now let's shift to Instagram. And Brad, you're kind of our Instagram expert, but Instagram in the last really about 6 months added My Story to the top portion of the Instagram feed. So now not only do you have the My Story section, you also have Instagram Live, which came back out probably, 3 or 4 months ago, Brad?
Yeah.
Maybe a little longer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Instagram
Live, which was similar to Snapchat in the fact that it didn't save to your live feed like Facebook Live. But then you also have the news feed. So what's been intriguing to me is there's almost 4 different ways of playing out Instagram. But Brad, tell me first and foremost why you think Instagram is making these types of shifts, and what does it mean to a business owner in today's environment?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I may kind of back up just 2 steps and just say, obviously we're big Facebook fans. That's where we spend a lot of our times. But I think it's interesting to look at what the guys at Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg and everyone else, what their whole plan is. And part of that, and it gets into this Instagram play, is they bought Instagram. Do you remember when that was? A few years back.
Yeah, it was a couple years back.
Yeah, they bought it for a couple $1 billion, and I think it was just at $1 billion, and people thought he was crazy, and now it's valued at like 40 billion. So he knows what he's doing. The interesting thing about that is you started this conversation with Snapchat, and Facebook actually tried to acquire Snapchat for $16 billion was the offer, and the guys at Snapchat turned him down. And so I think part of what you see happening with them taking a lot of the things that have been successful at Snapchat and saying, okay, we'll build them ourselves. And you see a little bit of a decline on the Snapchat side of things. And guys like Gary Vee are pointing this out as well. So I think that's super interesting and relevant to point out. As far as your question, what's Instagram doing from a business perspective to help business owners? And I think Instagram was a perfect place to kind of beta test some of the early adoption of the Snapchat features, because it's a lot smaller, first of all, than Facebook, and the demographic matches so much better to this idea of live content and continuous the stories play. I think that all skews to a younger demographic. So as we speak in business terms from a business perspective, how do we stay relevant? I think we watch those things that Instagram and Facebook, for that matter, are doing and the technology they're putting out. And then, like you kind of alluded to earlier, I think play within that game. Whatever they come out with, that means they're pushing it. They think it's important. And so if you play their game, you're going to get much more results from a business perspective.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mitch, any other insights?
Got to keep in mind always what.
There you go.
Turn your.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You're good now. Yep.
It takes a minute to kick in that microphone. So I think you got to keep in mind when you are using those new features of what the goal of Instagram and Facebook are. There's kind of 3 interests that are coming into play with social media. There's the individual user, and they're just on there to socialize and have a good time and waste a lot of time in some cases, depending on the person. There's Facebook and Instagram as a corporation. They're on there to make money, but they're also there to provide a large user base. They want to have and keep their billions of users. And so they're trying to provide a pleasing experience to their viewers. And then there's the businesses. We want to capitalize on that user base to make more money for our business because that's where people's attention are. And so if you are going to start playing those games, then make sure you are making it a pleasing experience for the individual user. Don't just spam out and make it a revolving billboard. That's what we talk about a lot, is don't make it a revolving billboard. And so as you make those videos, make it so that it is social, make it so that it is funny, make it so that it is entertaining, but still ties back into helping you make more money for your business.
Yeah. So let's talk through. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
I was just going to say two quick things. First of all, I wanted to welcome Jerry and Chris. Appreciate you joining. And secondly, I wanted to say that from a strategy perspective, from an execution standpoint, like how does a business do it? I think in a lot of ways, to me, the live and stories give you as a business owner a chance to give your potential prospects or customers or anything like that a look behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Like it gives them a look behind the curtain to say, we're not just a big office or a big, corporation. We are humans and we have a life, and this is our life, and this is what we've chosen to devote ourselves to, and this is why.
Yeah, Brad, the word that comes to my mind consistently when you're saying that is authenticity, right? What's cool about the strategies, and I had this epiphany yesterday, and maybe this is the first time I really understood the value play of Snapchat, but more importantly, the value play of this new My Story, not only on Instagram, but on Facebook, is business brands on Instagram have a very hard time articulating their branding on the actual platform, because a lot of times it's product based or service based, but they have a really hard time seeing behind the scenes. But now, as a business page, if you're going to add things to the My Story section, that's real time of what's happening at your business today. So it opens up this. And Brad, we've heard this multiple times. One of the people we follow most closely and just recently listened to was Gary Vaynerchuk. And one of the things he always talks about is documentation is the new form of content creation. Well, I think Mark Zuckerberg and I think the Facebook, Instagram platforms, Snapchat platforms are listening to this guy, because they're opening everything up to say, you can post images like you would on a billboard. It's not going to work as well. But what you also need to make sure you're taking into consideration is the My Story segmentation, because that My Story is now going to open up the world or peel back the layers for your audience to connect with your people. Meaning you can do that documented timeline in a 24-hour fashion. Instagram only allows on the Instagram feed a 24-hour sequence, meaning same thing like Snapchat. You can only keep things on your My Story within a 24-hour sequence. So it's forcing you as a company, if you want to play on social media, if you want to play on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, you've got to become a media company first. You've got to become a provider and a presenter of content consistently, because once that content is relevant to an audience, now you have their attention. And remember, we're in this world of social as a mechanism for day trading for attention, because the attention that you capture from those people and the story that you share in that process is going to dictate and articulate the value that someone sees from a customer perspective, from a potential buyer perspective. So really, really cool platform. And now let's shift that focus. Well, let's make an example. Instead of talking the clouds here, let's get into the dirt, right? So practical application. I sat down with my client yesterday. We were talking specifically about Instagram. And I said, here's an Instagram strategy for you. And you guys can tweak this if you'd like. This was just kind of my initial perception. But I said, one thing you need to do first and foremost is you need to run your My Story. That becomes basically your My Story play. Capture, they're a provider of crafts, right? And so I said, do a phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 of your production line. And then in association with that, take some pictures on your phone through that process, because you can do a little bit of a video clip, talk through the process, and then show a static image, and then do another video clip, and then another static image. And then I said, as soon as you finish that sequence, save that, download and save that. And then you can utilize that as a video content, throw that up on your YouTube page. In addition, run a live video. One of the newest features of Instagram just recently is now you can download your live video feed. It doesn't stay on the timeline like on Facebook, but you can download that live feed. And again, then you can upload that back into your page, into your Instagram feed, as if you're going to upload an image. So not only are you capturing the live information as is, but now you can upload a video to Instagram so people can come back and watch it a little bit later. Now there are some time restrictions and they keep fluctuating with that. I think is it 1 to 3 minutes now, Brad, or is it longer than that? Can you go on Instagram video longer than that now?
I think it is about 3 minutes.
So it's still
it has been changing.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that is Instagram understands the attention span of the people that are using Instagram. You go to Facebook and you can watch an hour or almost 2 hours of live feed if you want to. If you're still watching the baby giraffe that will be born sometime, it's been going on for like 2 months, right? So I don't know if any of you saw that feed, but you know what I'm talking about. But the reality is, like, Facebook Live gives you the opportunity to basically broadcast as if you're on TV. Instagram only gives you that 3-minute segmentation. So run that Instagram Live and then upload that as a video so that you're capturing not only the live attention, but you're also capturing that as a newsfeed attention. What's cool about that is if you do that concept, talk about it, say, hey, we're on Instagram Live right now, and explain that so that people know that you're going live and they can set the notifications to always be seeing your content first. It's kind of a cool little drop-down menu that you can go and establish on Instagram and on Facebook. So then what I said is, make sure you have your static images, right? Make sure you put your images. You're not going to be able to put hashtags in your live video. You're not going to be able to put hashtags in your, well, you can do some hashtagging in your My Story, but the images, the searchability features, that's where it becomes super relevant to put those 15 to 30 hashtags in every post that you create. And recognize, you might say, well, I'm going to do My Story, but I'm not going to do the rest of that. Everyone consumes information in a different way. So some people might go to your My Story and only see that. Other people might just go directly to your timeline, to their time feed, and only look at the image that you had with hashtags. Some people actually go watch your video, and other people will actually jump on with you live. Really depends on the timing, and it all depends on the attention. So the trick is, how do you find your audience and how do you keep their attention on Instagram specifically? Brad, Mitch, any other insights as far as strategy concerning Instagram?
I'll just say I was talking with a lady the other day, and she has an essential oils lotion, like a skin cream.
Mm-hmm.
And her Instagram strategy is pretty unique, and I actually really love it. So if you look at her feed, it's all just beautiful pictures of nature. And that's it. You never see her product, and that has gone really well for growth. So she's able to get a lot of followers and continually growing her page. And then her strategy is in a live setting, she'll go in and she'll show, a model or someone using the actual lotion and having more of a call to action there. So I thought that was kind of a unique strategy to use, and there she says it's working like crazy. So that's just another angle that you can take.
Yeah. So the images are more sentimental based, is what you're saying, right, Brad? There's an emotional connection to the actual images that are being posted, but then in the live feed, that's where she's capturing the rest of the connection and making the connection between the images and the video. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
I get that. That's cool. Okay.
Yep.
So now, Mitch, any other insights?
No, you guys covered it.
So now let's shift to Facebook, because in the last 2 days, for those of you that are crazy Facebook junkies like me, check this out. I'm going to bring it up here. Up here on the top, you now have My Stories. Kind of zoom in, focus. But along the top now, there's all of a sudden this whole My Story play with your feed. Again, the Instagram My Story now coming to Facebook. And again, from a business perspective, this is how I'm going to treat it. I run a lot of Facebook Live videos that teach people about Facebook advertising, which I totally have no idea why I'm not running a Facebook Live video right now. Kind of crazy. But I should have one up like this and capitalizing on what we're doing. So Facebook Live feeds obviously are an extremely powerful way of capturing attention of the average consumer. But from a business perspective, let's say you're running that inside of your business and you're capturing good footage. Well, what I would do is I would totally utilize that Facebook Live video from a education-based concept. But then the interlining workings of your business, that's what you capture through your My Story, because you're capturing those consistently. I know sometimes we have hesitancy, if you will, to jump on a Facebook Live event because now you're broadcasting to everybody. Well, just place that kind of stuff on your My Story. And then people can see it consistently and they can watch it whenever they want. They can watch your My Story. Interestingly enough, though, when you're talking about My Story, the more often you add things to My Story, the more relevant you become. I mean, if I'm looking here, right, I've got tons of people that are using My Story. And I just totally just turned My Story around right there. And now I'm using it again if I wanted to. But what the value proposition of My Story on Facebook now becomes is now it's just another way of capturing attention for those people that normally would have shifted their attention to Instagram to see the My Stories. Now they can go watch it on their own terms. And you know the best part about it? It doesn't get lost in the feed. I mean, think about how fast your feed is flowing, how many new posts are happening, how many new videos are being uploaded. You're missing content unless you're scrolling. Well, if you have somebody that you like to follow, like me, totally kidding. But you can always put that in the top part. And if they're providing that content consistently, now you always have a platform to keep people engaged in your stuff. Ow. My elbow. Keep engaged in your stuff rather than, as you guys can tell, I'm super passionate about social media, even to the tune of slamming my elbow on the table. That hurt. Super engaged in your stuff consistently so that you don't have to go through all of the humdrum and all the rest of the noise that's happening on social. So it's a way to really identify these are the people that I want to follow, and I'm going to keep them first and foremost front and center in My Story. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Brian, one thing to clarify for those that are on, for those that are going to be watching the recording, can you do a My Story from your business page and your personal profile, or just your personal profile?
I believe. Let me check.
Or have we looked yet since it's so new?
No, I believe the My Story only comes up through your personal profile still. Let me look. Yeah, because if I'm looking in pages, it doesn't actually. It's not applicable to business pages yet, but it is. I mean, it is inside of your personal profile, so you can brand, right, which is what everybody's talking about now. You can brand your business and brand you in a way that creates massive value for those people that you're associating yourself with.
Well, and I'd say too, looking back historically, every time Facebook releases something new, they always give you additional benefit to using that thing.
That's right.
We saw it with, Facebook Live, additional reach and exposure, just because they want to really make that product work for them. And I think the same will be true here. Another thing I wanted to mention is maybe a couple of predictions. I think that if we know Facebook like we know Facebook, I think their end game is to get more ad dollars. And for us, we run a lot of Facebook ads. And I think eventually you're going to see sponsored stories. That's just going to happen. And so if you work now to get the organic side of that, get that following, you're just going to be better poised to execute when that does come out.
It's funny about that, Brad. When I talk to businesses, I say, you know what, I'm going to give you a 90-day challenge. And the 90-day challenge is simply this. If you do a Facebook Live event, and I challenge anybody, any business builder, anyone, anywhere, if you spend 90 days and do a Facebook Live event, or even in context of My Story, put some content out on your My Story page in association with the Facebook content that you'd traditionally share, you will probably double the size of your following in a quick 90 days. I'm making a prediction with that as well. And you might have 10 people that are following you now. So to go to 20, it's not very hard. But I know there's some people out there like myself. I have, 700-800 people that follow me. If I were to do that, I'm going to commit here so that everybody can see me on camera and hold me accountable. But, committing to that process, committing to the consistency changes the dynamic of how your business will be functioning in the course, not today, but it'll change the dynamic of how you're building your business over the course of the next 5 years. And the one thing that I said to my customer, my client yesterday, because they were asking like, well, we don't quite understand all this social media. We don't know if it's worth the dollars that we're spending in it. And I said simply this. I said, listen, the money you spend on social media today in today's environment is not, it may not give you the highest return on investment today, but what it will do is it will make sure if you stay consistent in the process, that you're relevant in 5 years. As a matter of fact, we sat down, Brad, and you probably remember this conversation. We sat down with an event planning business who does a lot of events in our local area, and there's 2 competing venues now. And the one thing that I said to her is, I said, listen, the more value you can provide to those people that become a vendor at your show, the more often you're going to have people that are really going to come to you, because they recognize, especially using social media, they recognize that they're going to get exposure above and beyond just what the venue provides. Because we all know those shows, there's times that we can't show up to them, right? I mean, there's something that comes up on a Friday or Saturday, and I just literally, I can't make it to the location. I still want to see what's happening. And the more that these companies start to use Facebook Live context to really provide that value, it's just going to drive the increased price of what it would normally. I mean, I told her to start charging a social package where they do a Facebook Live event and then push that content out for $50 or $100 over a 2-week period, the weeks before and the weeks after, because now it's a continuation of the show pricing that's happening right there. I mean, that's a huge strategy for a real estate agent. If you want to drive people to an open house, run some Facebook Live content, drive them into that house, go do a walkthrough, tell people when it's going to be, boost the content, and then let people come. Easiest way to sell real estate, in my opinion, is by doing live content and then driving people to a location so that they can physically experience it. So many people in general want to experience what's going on in your world through a Facebook Live context, or even a 360 video context. Got a good friend of mine who lives in Hawaii right now, and he takes these beautiful 360 shots, and it's almost experiential to me, like I'm there. Had another friend, one of our clients, he was in Rome last week, and he took these images of all of Rome, and I'm like, I'm there, I'm standing there with you, experiencing this with you. So the shift, I think we all see this, the shift that we're coming to with the world of social media is we're going to a world of experience where people, want to see the inner workings of your business, because guess what? When you show them the inner workings of your business, now you provide that much more level of authenticity, and you're building a relationship of trust. Those companies that continue to hide behind the curtain, if you will, they're just going to get burned. They're going to get shut down. They're going to get beat up. It's like Blockbuster and Netflix, right? You got to come to play the game like Netflix. If you don't, you're going to be out of business here soon. And I mean, I say that facetiously, but at the same time, it's super true and super relevant. So any other closing thoughts, guys? Got like 2 minutes left. Any questions we have from the attendees? Brad, is there a way we can see the chat? Oh, there it is, right over here.
Yeah, it's right there. If you guys have any questions, just post them in the chat. If you do have a question, if it's more involved, we can give you a microphone as well, so you can jump on the audio if you're up for that. So I think now's a good time for Q&A if you have any questions.
Brad's like the shadow below us.
I know, sorry, horrible lighting. I could
his face.
Yeah, too much light behind me.
Okay. Doesn't look like there's any questions. That's fantastic. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Every week we're here, guys, 12 o'clock, 12 to 12:30 Mountain Standard Time. We'd love to have you come back and join us. So,
yep, watch for those emails, and you'll get some in preparation for our next one next Friday. So,
okay.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
See ya.
See you, everybody.